Hello and welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Mendte. On this week's show, New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney warns that he'll block all future taxes and fees until there is real economic reform in state government. Gun sales in New Jersey have hit a new high. We'll pay a visit to a gun shop in Toms River that is doing record business. When will all children be able to return to the classrooms in New Jersey? We hear from all sides of the school controversy. And saying goodbye to an icon, Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg is calling it quits. But first, my interview with the President of the New Jersey Senate, Steve Sweeney. Senate President, thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us. I wanted to ask you about a quote I recently saw from you that you said there will be no increased taxes or fees considered while there is no reform. What do you mean by that exactly, and why did you say it?
Well, I said it for a very good reason. Commitments have been made to me for reforms by this administration. We did some things in last year's budget that I wasn't crazy about, but we did them with the expectation that things are going to change. Larry, I was dead serious. I can speak for the Senate. I will not post bills that are going to raise taxes or fees in this budget year. New Jersey has an affordability issue that we have to address. I've been after this for more than a decade, trying to get reforms. I was thrilled that we were able to get reforms with the teachers union to reduce healthcare costs by over $1 billion.
Let's talk about legalized recreational marijuana. It passed at the polls, the constitutional amendment, voters passed overwhelmingly. It quickly made it through the legislature and onto the governor's desk, and it was expected to be signed by the end of last year. And then there was a holdup because the governor refused to sign it over a drafting error. It has to do with penalties for those underage who use marijuana. And now it seems you and the governor once again are at a logjam over this. What's going on?
There was no drafting error. It was a policy decision. And there are penalties for underage drug use. We treat it the same as alcohol. Larry, the administration, the governor announced with me and the speaker that we had a deal on marijuana. He announced it. It was his press release that my quotes were in and the speakers and the sponsors. Just so you know, that language that he's saying was a drafting error has been in there for 2 years. It's not a drafting error. I tried to find compromise. I agreed to try to find a compromise, a middle ground, but I got to tell you, my caucus was outraged. We don't want to mark young people's lives to a point where they're damaged goods before they get out, before they become 18. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah, how do we work with kids now? I know that they wanted another bill to fix the problem, and then you tried to pass a bill, and some people wouldn't support that. Some of the senators said they wouldn't put their names on it. So where does this go? How does this get fixed?
Bills on the legislature, the Senate and the Assembly passed bills and put them on the governor's desk. We said we had an agreement. We did have an agreement. It was not a drafting error. It was a policy decision, Larry. Listen, no matter what they're saying, and we have penalties for underage drug use. So at this point,
they say it's ambiguous. They say it's the first legislation in the country that legalizes marijuana for those under 21. Of course, there's no names to those. These are things that are coming out of the administration. Any of that true?
They need to sign the legislation we put on the governor's desk. And like any other piece of legislation that we do, Larry, you've been around this for a while, we make amendments, we make changes, we find unforced mistakes or unintended consequences, and we fix them. We knew what we were passing. The legislature passed 2 bills, one on decriminalization, one on legalization. Got him to his desk on December 17th. He needs to sign the legislation, and we'll work with him if there's something wrong.
You want a second constitutional amendment on marijuana?
Well, it's to dedicate the funds to the communities that have been damaged the most by illegal drug trade. What I was trying to explain to people is, like, we're dedicating all the tax revenue right now to impacted communities. They're listed. There's like 20 communities or 25 communities around the state that really have had to deal with this burden of drug sales in their communities. Well, if you don't dedicate the funding to those programs, the budget document every year overrides everything. So I could say to you today, Larry, I'm going to put this money here and it's going to be there forever, and next year it'd be gone. So if we're going to be serious about social justice, and economic justice, then we got to dedicate these fundings where they belong.
The governor recently vetoed a bill that would have allowed more freedom for restaurants in neighboring states, in Pennsylvania and New York. They have lost in the courts. The courts found that the restrictions they put on restaurants are unconstitutional. Do you believe that that is an area better served by the courts than the legislature at this point?
Well, we just passed a bill very similar to the one the governor vetoed, and we expect him to sign it. Larry, what we did, we think there was a mistake when they vetoed the bill. I think it was just timing. It just passing in the middle of the night. They made a mistake. People, we found out, if there's a positive, some people actually like outdoor dining. So we want to let those business owners, for the next couple of years, collect on their investments and then evaluate whether we make it permanent.
It's made national news, the fact that the vaccine will go to people who smoke before teachers, before public transportation drivers. Do you agree with that decision?
Larry, I agree that smokers should get vaccines just like teachers and everyone else. They're vulnerable. Unfortunately, they're vulnerable. They've put themselves in a weakened position. Larry, I had pneumonia twice. I'm a diabetic. I should get one. I intend to get one. So the problem is there's not enough vaccines and they're not getting out quick enough. We need more vaccines. We need to vaccinate everyone. What they're doing is they're evaluating who's at risk most. So I'm not going to knock the governor for saying that people that are smokers should get them. I think we need to get teachers so we can get them back in the classroom. I think we really need to evaluate. We need to get more vaccines, to be honest with you. That's the demanding thing.
Sarah, I always appreciate your time.
New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney. Still to come on Jersey Matters, gun sales are way up in New Jersey. We'll visit a gun shop in Toms River where sales are up over 1,000%. That's next.